to participate in the symposium, and she always writes really quirky, weird stuff, as you know if you've read her blogs. And she's talking about biblical allusions and the girl with the dragon tattoo. Good morning.
Okay, so allusions covertly make a reference to an alternate subject, often leading to a better comprehension of that specific subject. The Bible in particular is one of the most influential books of our modern culture, and biblical allusions can be found in practically any medium. I chose The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. A direct biblical allusion from the controversial book Levitical can be found in Stieg Larsson's book, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This allusion is not only crucial for the characters in the plot, but without having intimate knowledge of the Bible, the reader would not be able to understand the context of that allusion within the story. I chose to cover this book because it is known for its especially feisty heroine, Lisbeth Salander, and the book takes place in Sweden in the early 2000s. The plot focuses around Lisbeth and a man named Michael Blomqvist, who is an investigative journalist who had been recently convicted of libel, as they investigate the 35-year-old disappearance of a young girl from a family party. Her prominent family, the Wangers, own one of the wealthiest corporations in Sweden. Her uncle believes that she had been murdered by a member of her own family because she disappeared during the party. However, the deeper the detective duo digs, they discover a darker secret connected to the Wanger family, a string of brutally gruesome murders. Though Sweden is officially neutral during World War II, the Wanger family is connected to the Nazi Party as well, and its anti-Semitic ideas leach into the younger generation, including Harriet's brother Gottfried and her brother Martin. Both Gottfried and Martin travel for work for the company that they work for, which is the family company. Gottfried sexually abused both of his children, which introduces Martin, his son, to a taste for violence towards women. Both men then start to murder together in a most peculiar fashion. Every girl is brutally killed according to a verse found in the book of Leviticus. And in addition, every girl has a name of Jewish origin. Lisbeth and Michael found this information within Harriet's journal, listing both the names along with a strange section of numbers. At first they were thought to be phone numbers, and then later dates, as the two struggled to put together what the possible significance of this list could be to Harriet. The information they worked with looked as such. How were the two sleuths supposed to figure out this strange code from the twisted mind of an abused young woman? Typically, the Swedish population lacks a belief in God, even though many religions are followed in the country. The book addresses this by having every character in the book be seemingly atheist, except for two women, Harriet Wanger, the woman who disappeared, and Michael Blomqvist's daughter, Pernilla. Both of these women are religious, and therefore quite familiar with the Bible's contents. However, as every other character seems to lack an intimate knowledge of this holy text, these two characters are the key to solving the mysteries of the identities of both the serial killers and what happened to Harriet. During a visit with her father, Pernilla notices this list of names and numbers and states that the Levitical quotes on his wall are gloomy and neurotic. He is obviously nonplussed because he doesn't know what she's talking about. So he finds a Bible to look up the verses, and what he finds is staggering. The code translates to obviously Levitical verses. Leviticus is the third book of the Bible, hence the number 3, and the chapter and the verse numbers follow afterwards. For example, Sarah-32109 translates to Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 9, or, and the daughter of any priest, if she profanes herself by playing the harlot, profanes her father, and she shall be burned with fire. The fifth murder was a woman named Sarah, the daughter of one pastor and the wife of another, and she was found strangled and her apartment set ablaze, obviously matching the verse details that she coordinates with. Victims on the list were just the first of many, as Lisbeth discovers 3 other possible murders from around the same time, with each one dealing with a verse from Leviticus. These coincide with business meetings at which both Gottfried and Martin Wanger are present at. The killers were never caught because the murders are never connected due to the lack of an obvious pattern, which we know that our investigators link with the verses from Leviticus. In addition to Levitical allusions, each woman's name is a Hebrew origin. Spellings are changed, as in the cases of Rebecca, Mary, Rachel, Sarah, and Leah. Other names are shortened versions of longer names such as Magda or Lena, which if you combine them are short for Magdalena, an allusion to Mary Magdalene. The final victim was named Liv, which is a little tricky to figure out at first, but translated from the Swedish meaning, it can be traced to the name Eve. Their names of Jewish heritage made these women's targets to the anti-Semitic Vangermen. Solving the disappearance of Harriet is quite simple. She knew her father and her brother were murdering women across the country according to their extreme anti-Semitic and violent tendencies, so she was targeted by harsher abuse by her father. In an instance of desperate self-defense, Harriet kills her father and has to flee Sweden to avoid suspicion of her involvement with his death. The biblical samples of Leviticus within the girl with the dragon tattoo are most obviously an allusion, because the truth of Harriet's disappearance would have never been revealed without having Finlay